So there's a rule in prison. You always wear your own stuff. So if you get into dirt, you don't let anybody else go down for that. But sometimes people break that rule, and that's when conflict ensues. So when I was in C3, there was a guy who was making wine, and everybody used to like to buy it, and they would run all around, and you would see guys coming to the door. And in prison, you would think people would be like better criminals, but they're in prison for a reason. They weren't good criminals. So a lot of times it would be really obvious and take coffee bags full of wine because we didn't have bottles, we didn't have things we could put it in. So guys would fill up coffee bags and they would stuff them down cuts in their jacket. Because you have this state jacket that's fairly large, but it has like little pockets, you can't really hide anything. So guys would take a razor blade and cut down the inside of the jacket so that way they would have places to do it. They would even cut in the sleeves so where you could like slide it inside the sleeve of the jacket. So you would see guys with these like giant bulky jackets and it would be obvious that they were transporting commissary or wine or whatever they were doing, but they would still do it that way because we really didn't have any options. You couldn't just like walk down this, the boulevard with a big bucket of wine or a big whatever. So Tony was making the wine and he was running back and forth to the door to the point that the COs like knew something was going on because he keeps like going to his cell, getting a jacket, putting it on, going to the door, waiting for somebody to open because somebody's coming in the pod or somebody's going out of the pod or whatever. There happened to be somebody standing outside and he would like give them the jacket and they would run down the hall or run across the hall. And it's like the most obvious thing in the world. There was no discretion, there was no attempt to hide it. They were just being wide open. So anyways, one of the COs notices and like calls the sergeant. So Tony's going to the door and he goes out and he sees the sergeant coming. He's like, oh crap, So he just drops the wine right next to the door and then runs back in. So the sergeant just saw this young white guy with the jacket, comes in, sees the jacket, like picks it up, finds the wine, is like, oh, I got it. So what Tony had done is he ran to his cell really quick, grabbed a shower stuff, went and got in the shower. So when the sergeant actually started looking for him, he was in the shower. So then the sergeant's like, all right, a young white guy, like I got to figure this out. So he starts going cell to cell looking for a young white guy, and he finds one, but it's not Tony. It's not the guy who had the wine. So he takes this guy, he's like, you come with me. The guy's like, man, what are you talking about? Because he really hadn't done anything. So the sergeant's like, you come with me now, or like, I'm going to get the mace, or I'm going to get the whatever. So the guy was like, all right, like whatever. So he goes to the watch office, and they say, yeah, we got you with this wine. And this was before we had cameras in all the pods, which, they had their benefits and their costs. But in this case, he really got screwed because there was no camera to prove that he wasn't the one with the wine. So he's in the watch office, and they start saying, oh, yeah, we're going to lock you up. You got possession of wine, and you're doing this. And he starts flipping out. He says, like, yo, I did not. Like, I don't know what you're talking about. And the sergeant straight lies and is like, oh, I know it's him. Like, I saw him. I followed him. He put the coat down, and then I grabbed him. Like, no, that's not what happened. We were all sitting there. We saw what happened. And Tony's in the shower this whole time, so he doesn't know this is happening. But the problem is he's letting it. Like, after it got to this point, and he's in the watch office, and he's cussing, and he's threatening, and they throw him in handcuffs, and they take him down the hole, Tony didn't do anything. He didn't own up to it. He didn't take the charge. He didn't, like, write and say, like, yo, it was me. Because I've seen guys do the right thing. Like, I remember one guy got caught with a knife. He's down in the hole. His cellie, who the knife actually belonged to, wasn't in the cell when that happened, was like, no, that was mine. Like, you need to let him out. Like, that's on me. And that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to take responsibility for yourself and not let somebody else take that fall. Tony didn't do any of that. Instead, he started sending word back to the guy in the hole. And he was like, yo, well, let me pay you. Like, let me give you, like, $10, or let me give you, like, $20. And Tony just made, like, $200 on this wine. So to say, I'm going to give you 10 or $20, like, that's kind of crappy, right? Like, he's not even, splitting it. He's not saying, oh, I'll gap it with you. He's saying, I'll give you, like, basically my kind of cast-offs. So the dude in the hole is getting mad. He's like, nah, dude, like, I'm back here. Like, I'm wearing this. I'm not going to tell on you, obviously, but, like, this is not okay. Like, you and I are going to have problems. So Tony starts upping the money. Like, it was $10, and it was $20, and it was $30, and it was $50. And finally, they settled on something. I don't know what it was. It was like $80 or something. So the guy was like, all right, if you pay me $80, like, we're cool. Like, we don't have to fight when I get out. So he's sitting back there, and he ended up getting, like, 3 weeks for the wine. So he's literally sitting in solitary confinement for 3 weeks for wine that he had nothing to do with because the other dude wouldn't take ownership, which was messed up. So he gets out, and Tony still hadn't paid him the money. Like, Tony was supposed to either cash app it to him, or he was supposed to give him commissary. I don't know what the situation was. So they have this big confrontation in the chow hall. Because dude pulls up, he's like, yo, where's my money? And Tony was like, oh, yeah, I sent that. Well, the guy never got it. Well, what turns out is the guy actually did. So Tony sent him the money, but the guy that he sent it to, so he had his sister or his friend or whoever it was, sent it to this dude's sister on the street. Well, this dude's sister has gotten strung out. So he finds out she actually got the money but never told him and instead used that money to, do whatever she was doing with it. So then all of a sudden he's mad. Like, he's mad at Tony because he went to the hole for something he didn't do. And he's mad at his sister because she spent his money on drugs or whatever, kind of bad lifestyle choice she was doing. So he's in this crappy situation where he spent 3 weeks back in the hole. Now he's got a charge, so he's going to lose good time. Like, he's essentially going to have to spend more time in prison because of this charge for something he didn't do. And he didn't even get the $80. And everybody looked at Tony differently because it was like, you should have owned up. Like that first day when it was obvious what was going on, like you should have gone down there, you should have like spoken up, you should have done something, because it's not cool to let this man take the fall for you. And then especially if you're not going to do something. So the one little thing that Tony did is, after all this, after they find out what happened to money, the fact that he didn't get it, Tony went back and did, I don't know what it was, like gave him like $10 or like sent him a little care package so he at least had some food when he got out of the hole. But yeah, I've seen it gone a lot worse than that. Like I've seen guys who didn't own up to things get in a much, different or worse situation. Because like I said, this guy was going to fight him. He wasn't going to stab him. Like he wasn't trying to get more time. He was trying to go home. But at the same time, he felt like he had a breaking point. And he had to make an example. So it's bad when people won't, kind of accept responsibility. And that's one of the big problems with the prison system. Because the whole point of prison should be to make people be accountable and accept responsibility for the things they did so that they can then go home. Because if they go home as different people, having accepted responsibility and made different decisions, that's good. But while that usually happens on the prisoner side, like there's this social expectation that guys will accept responsibility and kind of own up to their own stuff, it's never really done through the prison programming or format. Like there are no classes about accountability except for the one that I started in the mental health program. Like, because I said, wait, I've been in prison for all these years and nobody's ever asked me to accept responsibility for what I did. Nobody's ever asked me to talk about what I did. Nobody's ever asked me to do anything to accept responsibility and become a better person. And that doesn't make sense to me. So that was why I put that program together for the guys in the mental health program. And it's something I hope that we can continue to do, because I don't want guys getting out and going back to their old life. I don't want guys getting out and messing up or creating more victims or putting their family through the things they went through. I want guys getting out to succeed. I want them to be business owners and car mechanics and whatever they want to be, because I do believe we have the potential to change. And I've seen too many people get stuck in that life because they can't take accountability either on this kind of like social side of it or on the prison side of it.